It's for the kids.
They're part of it.
Oh, okay. Shh.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we're coming to you live from a couple of places on the internet. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram. Maybe you're listening later wherever you get your podcasts. It's all good. And hey, I'll just mention up top here, if you want ad-free versions of our podcast, patreon.com/comicbookclub. We got a special deal this month, March Madness.
Ooh, a special deal.
You can get $1 for the first month. That's it.
Ooh, and if you want an all-ad version of this podcast, just watch any Hulu television show. All ads. Oops, all ads.
Oops. They had a mix-up with the Hulu ad factory.
My favorite part.
I love ads.
But the only thing we're going to be advertising tonight are our lovely guests.
Hey!
Yes. They are our stock in trade.
They are. We have two great guests for you. The first one, though, I'm going to mention something that normally we say towards the middle of the show. We mentioned that we have a cocktail that is created or curated for us by our good friend Brent Macris down in New Orleans. Well, get out of here, Brent. You're not needed anymore. We don't need you.
Whoa, don't say that.
No, we have a new comic cocktailier on the podcast, and he's a good friend of our good friend Derek Mainhart. We're going to bring him in right now.
Hey,
ladies and
Mainhart.
gentlemen, Bill Roundy. Hello, Bill. Welcome.
Hey, everybody. How we doing?
So good. Excited to have you on. Excited to talk about this book. I believe this is the third book in your series of cocktail origins as well as cocktails. It's called the Bee's Knees Cocktail, or rather that's the name of the cocktail, and you're telling the story behind it. You just showed this off at Mocha here in New York City. Is that correct?
New York City?
New York City. Yes, that was the debut of the book. I actually finished it 1 week ago today.
Wow.
4 days ahead of the festival.
Under the gun.
Just made it under the line, and I have it right here.
Ooh.
So it is a mini comic. It's just 8 pages long, and then on this side, I have the cocktail itself.
Oh, there we go. Hey.
Bee's Knees.
Well, talk to us about this series. So, as we mentioned, this combines the history of cocktails with comics. Here we're talking about, as the cover says, a sweet gin drink from Jazz Age Paris. What spurred this on? Obviously, we love cocktails and comics here on the podcast as well, but where did it start for you?
Well, so I have a comic strip that I drew for 10 years for the Brooklyn paper. In which I went to bars and I reviewed them in comic strip form. So
that's I have so many questions.
Well, so basically it was just I love going to bars. I love drawing comics. I love passing judgment on places.
Wow, the best. Was I there in any of them? I'm often frequenting Brooklyn.
Yeah,
bars.
exactly. Where were you in Brooklyn?
You may have been. I mean, I've covered 500 of them. So.
Did you go to Plan B?
We can't just name bars, Pete.
McSorley's?
That's in New York.
It ran in the Brooklyn paper. So they only paid me to go to bars that were in Brooklyn.
All right.
So I've done some collections. So anyway, so I did that for a long time, and I acquired a lot of cocktail knowledge. And then the problem with doing the strip, well, I'm not doing the strip anymore because the Brooklyn paper let me go. But I would do these collections of books. Like here's one where I would collect all of the bars that I had reviewed in a particular neighborhood. But then
that's awesome.
Places would close, and I wouldn't be able to sell the book anymore. I'd have to keep doing updates. So I'm like, well, I need something that's going to be evergreen. But specifically, I did a comic strip about, or comic book about the Floridora, which was the most popular gin drink of 1901. Named after the fabulous Floridora girls. It was the first Broadway show to feature a chorus line. And it was featured, I came across the drink for the first time in the Dorothy Parker Cocktail Guide. And I was at the book release party, and I was chatting with the author of it. He's like, oh, you know what would be awesome? You should do a comic book like about one of the drinks, in the book, and maybe we could publish it. And I was like, that's a great idea. And then I didn't do that for like 4 years. And at that point, like, he had moved on, but I had the idea. So I was like, okay, I did the one, and then I did the Scofflaw, which is a Prohibition era whiskey drink, and now the Bee's Knees.
Cool.
Well, so you've done, this is a hard-hitting question. You can expect more of these here on the show. A gin drink, and then a whiskey drink, and then another gin drink. Why so many gin drinks, Bill?
Because that was just the story that I came across. To balance that out. So I was thinking about doing the sidecar next, but I'm like, oh, another sour. I've got to mix it.
Well, let's talk about the experience of bringing this to Mocha then. So for anybody who isn't in New York, who hasn't been there, this is a fantastic convention that is mostly, if not all, indie comic book creators. It's not like your San Diego Comic-Con or your New York Comic-Con or anything like that. What was your experience like there? And did you, I imagine you couldn't, but did you make cocktails at your table in Artist Alley or anything like that?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did?
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
So Mocha is my hometown convention. I have exhibited there every year but one since 2005. So
Wow.
This is my 19th year exhibiting
That's amazing.
there. It's named after the Museum of Comic and Cartoon Art, which I used to be on the board of directors of.
That's awesome.
But then, and Mocha was a fundraiser for the museum. But unfortunately, it did not raise enough funds for the museum, and it no longer exists. And they got taken over by the Society of Illustrators, which has sort of kept running the festival and has done a wonderful job with it. So going to Mocha is really, it's a homecoming. I know many people who've been exhibiting there for years. There are people that I only get to see at the show once a year, and we have a chance to catch up.
Cool.
So it's always a good time to go. Now, the book itself was a frantic sprint to get it finished in time, because I'm not going to get anything done unless I have a deadline.
Yes.
And I did a real deep dive on the research on this one. I was all Paris 1929 for like 2 months of research. And I was like, oh no, the show is a month away.
Oh, wow.
And I have a day job. I make whiskey. So I was
convenient.
Yeah, I was in the whiskey mines during the day, and then I would come here to my studio and draw until like 10 o'clock at night, and then repeat. So at every moment, I was like, am I actually going to get this book finished? And when I did finish it at 10:30 p.m. on Tuesday night last week, such a relief. And I was really excited to be able to bring it to the festival and have something to show off, because if I had not, boy, what a disaster that would have been.
Yeah, wow. Well, congratulations for getting it done over time. Speaking of research, I'd like to know, like, what you love about a bar, like your favorite kind of bar when you walk
question.
in. Like, what's a great bar to you?
I love great drinks, but that's not really the thing that you're looking for in a bar. Right. What you want is a place where you're going to feel comfortable. Whether that's like good customers or if that's a good bartender. Usually a bartender is going to go a long way towards setting the tone of what a bar is.
Like, it makes or breaks it for sure.
Bar Great Harry is a beer bar here in Brooklyn, and I've never gone there.
I've been there.
Conversation with people.
I bet we've spoken in that bar. That's where I used to work. I used to work at a bar called B61 over on Columbia Street for many years, and that group has moved to Bar Great Harry, and that is like the hang now. So I've been at that bar.
Let me ask you an even more specific question, Bill, is what is the best bar in New York for reading or making comics?
What?
That was... the Owl Farm during the day. So it's a beer bar, but I think it's the same group that owns Bar Great Harry. But when I was doing the strip for the paper, I would finish the strip in the front window of the owl farm, because it had a nice big window and a big broad table, so you could fit a full sketchbook down sort of on the counter and have great light coming in, and you could get just one beer or a soda, and it was not too busy until happy hour started. And by then, my editor would have been yelling at me if he didn't have the strip by then. So that was the place where I went to draw comics.
Nice.
Derek Maynard in the comments says, and his book won an award.
This old thing?
Oh, the Maynard queued that up. Wow.
Great reveal.
Wow.
You've been wearing that for a
the
week.
whole time.
Yeah.
Yes, I've said I'm never taking it off. But yes, it is the Award of Excellence.
That's awesome.
Well,
Congrats.
yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want to take that off. Yeah, I mean, geez.
I got real obnoxious with it. I was walking around the festival with this on my chest, being like, I'm doing a victory lap. Perhaps you could say.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
We got a very general question here in the comments over on YouTube, but I thought it was a good one to cue you up. Easy Reader says, does Bill have a favorite gin?
Ooh.
Yes. My favorite gin is from the New York Distilling Company. It's the Dorothy Parker.
Okay.
I like I'm not the biggest fan of juniper, actually, so I don't love the London Dries.
Wow.
This is a real, very citrusy gin. I'm a big fan of it. It's very floral.
And you said you make whiskey. Is there a brand that you have that you work for that you could plug?
Yeah, I work for Widow Jane Whiskey Distillery.
Ooh, that sounds
it's
scary.
right here in Brooklyn. It's at the end of Red Hook.
Nice.
And there's a recipe. So the bee's knees is just gin, honey, and lemon. And so I
Sounds
include a recipe
delicious.
in the book. But there's a variation called the Gold Rush, which is made with bourbon. And I put in a little plug in the book for the Baby Jane bourbon, which is made by Widow Jane and has sort of flavor notes of honey in it. So I think it makes an excellent companion to the Gold Rush.
Wow.
Very good. I've spent many nights at Botanica.
Okay.
So I'm right there where you work also. Bill, we're orbiting each other in a way.
Yeah.
A dangerous
Why
way.
haven't we been hanging out?
I know we maybe have, and we probably will. What's your next book? I think we got to know. Are you moving forward with more cocktail-based comics?
Yes. I think the next one is going to be the Black Russian. Black
interesting.
Russian / White Russian.
Wow.
Which apparently it was invented at a hotel in Belgium for the American ambassador to Luxembourg, who was going to be one of the first Americans to tour Russia, sort of after, during the Cold War.
Wow.
Wow.
And then you can get into the White Russian version, and then I get to talk about the dude.
Of course.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Well, before we let you go, Bill, can people pick this up anywhere that isn't Mocha, or do they need to find you in person and ply you with drinks until you give
take a
them
picture of your ribbon, and then you tell them where the book is.
First, I would like to encourage everyone to find me and to ply me with drinks. But also, there's going to be another convention here in Brooklyn next month, the Brooklyn Independent Comics Showcase in Interstate City. It's going to be the last weekend in April. I think it's the 26th and 27th, so I will be there. I also have a website that has an online store, so I could mail you a copy. It's $6, and you could join my Patreon and then just read it immediately.
Excellent.
Nice.
And we're actually going to be at Bix with a table as well, so we will see you there for sure, Bill, and looking forward to trying many of your cocktails.
All right, excellent.
All right,
Looking forward to seeing you guys.
Thanks, Bill.
See you soon, Bill.
Thanks for coming on.
All right, thanks.
Okay. All right, there we go. The book is called The Bee's Knees Cocktail, and as he mentioned, you can track him down on his website, or you can come in person to Bix at the end of April, where we will be. with stuff, and he will be with stuff, among other people. It won't just be two tables.
It won't just be the two of us. That's a rumor. That's just a
crazy.
rumor that's going around.
There's got to be more than
There's
two
probably
tables.
three. There's probably going to be 3 tables. You know?
Yeah, but the third one's an empty table where we put our stuff.
Yeah, we lay our drinks there or play beer pong on it. Let's say we'll put a pin in that and see if there's more than 2 tables. We're going to put a pin in that and do some research.
Yeah, we'll look into it and let you guys know later. But now we are going to bring in our second guest. He is the writer behind Archie Is Mr. Justice, number 3, which is coming to comic book stores everywhere tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenny Porter. Kenny, welcome.
Hey,
hello.
How's it going,
Hello.
guys?
Thanks so much for coming on the show. Thanks for talking about Archie Is Mr. Justice. We've talked about this book a bunch here on the show, but for anybody who is new to it, it is a premium Archie event that takes the idea of Archie as superheroes relatively seriously and follows it to its conclusion. There's still some jokes. There's still some fun to be had throughout the series, but it's also done not exactly exquisite corpse style, but it's telling a story with different creative teams each issue. You and Maria Samapo, if I'm getting close to pronouncing her name correctly, are doing the Betty Cooper focused issue. We find out about her and her relationship with Archie, who is Mr. Justice per the title. How did you come up with the project, and what was your take on coming in for this third issue based on what everybody else was kind of leaving for you to pick up on?
Oh yeah, so it was really interesting because they contacted me and asked me if I'd be interested in doing it. I'd never considered writing for Archie before, but I don't know why, because like I'm sure like you guys, Archie's always been in the peripheral of like my comic book reading. You get the digest at the grocery store. Like people always had the single issues in places. So I got really excited when they asked me, and it was kind of fleshed out as we all talked. Like we all got on a call at one point. We all talked through email about which characters we wanted to do, what interests us. And I really gravitated towards Betty, especially when they told me what the situation was going to be, that overall from like the writer's room perspective, that she was going to be his girlfriend at first, know his identity. And I really loved the original run of Ultimate Spider-Man. And I loved Peter and Mary Jane's situation with that, where he told her right away and she knew, and how they dealt with that. And I felt like she never really got too many issues that dealt with her side of it. Like she would have scenes and stuff in there, but I really started thinking about Betty as a character and like how strong-willed she is and how intelligent she is and how emotionally intelligent she is and how she'd deal with that. So that's where I got really excited to tell a story from her POV. And then also just to like throw in a bunch of the crazy Archie characters like Dilton Doily and stuff. There were some I couldn't use just because there wasn't enough room. I really wanted to put in as much as I could into this, because like if I'm only going to get to do this once, I'm taking the Jack Kirby approach, and I'm just going to put in every crazy idea that I can fit where it still makes sense and it doesn't. Exactly. Awesome shirt. Where it doesn't suck. So to everything I say, I hope people enjoy it and it doesn't suck, because we put a lot of love and a lot of joy into it. So that's where it kind of came from. They gave us loose stuff at first, and then Maria and I built it out from there, based on what we wanted to see Betty do. And then we kind of reworked it as they turned in scripts. We're like, oh, if you're going to do that, then let me plant this here. And I'll make sure this matches up with this. So it was really fun.
I mean, we got a chance to read this a little early, and I got to say, I really love how you were able to balance the superheroics with the actual relationships in Archie. I feel like either the superhero books that have been done in the past either lean full superhero or full genre and don't really use the relationships. They like have a spin on it or a take, or vice versa. It's just the Archie relationships and the superhero stuff is sort of a joke. This feels like a really strong balance of that. Was that something that was sort of the plan always going in, or is that something you had to sort of balance on your own?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Whenever I do, because I've done stuff for like DC and stuff as well, I always try to balance the really emotional character stuff, whether they're in costume or out of costume, with the big action stuff. Like big action, big emotion. That's my favorite parts of superhero comics. Like, let's be honest. At the end of the day, they're soap operas. Like, you love the romantic scenes.
I'm my great aunt.
Hold on.
I know you guys have been on this show a while. I hate to be the one to drop this bomb.
Oh man!
Like, but somebody had to do it. But yeah,
I've been meaning to try Days of Our Lives. Should I give it a shot? Do you think I'll like it as much?
I'll say the same. I'll say this about Days of Our Lives. anybody who ever gives the like, oh, you have to start at the beginning of a comic run sort of thing has never seen a soap opera, because I've never seen 2 episodes of a soap opera in a row. It was only when I was like sick from school or there was a half day, but I still understood whether it was Days of Our Lives or General Hospital. They drop in, they're like, here's who everyone is. Someone's trying to kill somebody, somebody's trying to sleep with someone, and someone's trying to steal someone's money. And you just automatically knew what was going on. The best comics do that too, where they just reintroduce you. And that's that's basically what I wanted to do, is balance the emotional stuff as much as the action stuff, because the more you put in the emotional stuff, the more the action stuff will have a punch to it, because you'll actually care. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that they were balanced while I was doing it. So definitely the thought process went in there.
It's like how they were able to somehow combine the young and the restless.
Incredible. A marvel of modern technology, honestly.
Just to steer it more in the direction of your comic, I just wanted to compliment you. A smart choice, just focusing on Betty and how amazing she is. So I just think that's a real smart choice in your
I don't know if you
behalf.
can tell Pete loves Betty.
What?
Like,
There's
loves
nothing,
her.
he talks about how smart and great she is. I'm just agreeing that she is, and he's smart to use her as such.
Just real
Sorry,
quick, because
she's not here listening to this. We got guys, just to
might
be
be.
clear.
Alex, I didn't tell you, there's someone else backstage on the
Betty Cooper.
Well, you mentioned Tilton Doily earlier, and something that we've seen in this series is like, yeah, they have superpowers, but it seems like very grounded, realistic superpowers. The stuff with Dilton really amps it up quite a bit in this issue. What was that like? Why was that important?
I thought it was important just because, one, I wanted to do my bit of world building in it, of consequences of what would have happened in the previous issues of this world existing, and like Kyriam Lodge, creating people with powers and his conflict with them, the city becoming more dangerous, and what would a character like Dilton do? Like, whenever I'm trying to plot out something that's either a part of a bigger world or I'm building something, I'm always thinking about the consequences of other people's choices, or just how the ripple effects would happen to other people in the world. So if Archie and all these other characters are battling like daily, how does that affect Dilton? Dilton's a smart guy. He likes inventing stuff. He's going to want to do something to help or give back, especially if he sees the city in turmoil. Or like here, like that there's new superhumans being made all the time. Like, he would want to do something to give back to the community, just like Betty does. So that's really why I approached it that way. I was like, who else in town would be doing something interesting since this is going on? And I was like, oh, Dilton Doily. He would want to do something about that. He'd want to get involved somehow. It doesn't turn out great for him or a lot of people, but he wanted to get involved.
This is mildly getting into spoilers, so I'll kind of skirt around the circumstances, but there's a scene towards the end of the book that seemed like it was inspired by the classic Spider-Man lifting up rubble thing. Is that...
Oh yeah, totally. That was what same with the Ultimate Spider-Man stuff, like the general, just like a huge Spider-Man fan. And I was like, I wanted to give someone else that big, huge, somebody without powers who just wanted to help people. And I thought that would be a great, like, leading up emotionally to her physical manifestation of helping people and what she sacrifices. No spoilers, but I just felt like that was important for her character, and that's where I needed to get her.
Yeah.
I really love that moment. And I surprised. I'd never seen that from someone who doesn't have superpowers before, sort of in that same heroic like vision of it. And I was like, oh, this is such a nice idea, a nice way in.
We got a question here from the comments from Derek. What's your favorite Spider-Man run?
That's a great question. So I'll tell you what I read so much. I'll tell you what my most recent favorite run is. It's a new favorite because I never got to read it before. I really love the J.M. DeMatteis Spectacular Spider-Man run, which I hear they're about to like finally collect in an omnibus. That's where you get to see like Harry as the Green Goblin really tearing it up.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great emotional storytelling in there. There's also just a really great issue where Aunt May gives the Vulture the business, which is really great. And it's really good emotional story just on her own. So I really love that run. I have it all in singles, but I'm really excited because Marvel's putting out like an omnibus. I don't work for them. I don't know why I'm plugging stuff for them right now, but I'm excited that the book is coming out, and I love it.
That's awesome. I remember that. It's funny you mentioned soap operas earlier. I remember that being a very soap operatic run on Spider-Man. Like, it feels like it was almost like, I feel like their apartment, Spidey and Mary Jane's apartment, was never more of a place than that run in comics.
Oh, totally. It had a real... It's funny because I think about that all the time, how so many people have to draw their apartment over the years, or had to, before they were split up again. And I guess I had to get that mention in there at some point. But,
it's important to say. We have to say
it's important to say it, yeah.
And we should say Mephisto was the one who did that, and it was all to
Jesus.
save
Come on,
a
man.
very old woman's life.
That
a
was-
very old woman's life. Close to death.
We all know this.
She must live.
Right. And sorry, this thing you're talking about, this happened recently, which is why people are very salty
Just
about
yesterday.
it.
That's
Just
why people
yesterday.
are mad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
To many, it feels that way.
Yeah, definitely. Never forget.
Definitely shouts to Sal Buscema. I saw that in the comments. His version of the Green Goblin's one of my favorites.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
the really toothy version. But yeah, I really love in that run how the apartment does feel like an actual third place for them, and it's really geographically important because like Harry's living downstairs,
Right.
So like that adds a ton of like, what's more soap opera than like my supervillain lives downstairs and technically controls my rent. Like on top of that's trying to kill me. So I
Awkward.
love that
So many
aspect of
ways.
it too.
You touched on this earlier, but I wanted to get back to sort of the writing cadence of this book, which I think is so interesting. Is this, how did you feel about this process? This is not like asking you to throw anybody under the bus. I think obviously it needs a very strong editor to kind of keep everything on the tracks. But how do you feel about this, like passing issue to issue to issue cadence for the book?
I thought it was really fun. We didn't have any problems or anything really. Like everybody was really excited about it. And when everybody threw their ideas out, we all got to read them. So we all knew generally what everyone was going to do. It felt a lot like writing an episode of a TV series where there's like a writer's room and everyone comes in, they do their episode that's like set within the world. And then obviously you go back, you make changes and everything to make sure it lines up with everybody else's. And as edits came in for the other ones, like stuff in mine had to change a little bit, but none of it was anything that I was like, this isn't even me anymore, or that sort of thing. Like it was all little things to just tie it in. And anytime there's a way to like call back to stuff and things, like I always get excited about it. So I was happy to be like, oh, then I can mention this, or we can change this to say that. So I thought it was really fun. It just, it reminds me of working on bigger projects and stuff with multiple writers. There's things I've done, or like I co-wrote an image book recently, and it was similar to that, where it was like back and forth, just like talking sort of stuff all the time and throwing out ideas and changing stuff as things evolved. So I liked it a lot. Like I would totally do it again if another publisher was up for it.
It almost feels like, I mean, I know you're just saying that you did this on another image book, but it feels like a lot of folks are doing similar things just based on, I don't know, rather than letting a big publisher dictate your entire fate or being like, I'm an island in and of myself out here. People are starting to really realize the only way of making this work in the comic book industry is by banding together, whether it's an imprint or in projects, etc. I don't know if you have any feelings about that.
I say it really helps. Like when I did, I promise I won't talk about too much other stuff other than Archie, but just as an example, like when I did Superboy at DC, I talked to Philip Kennedy Johnson because he was going to use Connor right after me. So we were like, oh, let's get on a call with us and the editors, and then let's talk about where he's going to be, where he's going to end up. And then we had the mandate, like put him in the new jacket. And then Phil and I were like, how come we didn't get jackets? Because we put him in the jacket. Like, why wasn't there a jacket in the mail? So that was really helpful because then I was like, I'm going to set up this, this, and this. What do you want me to mention? And he was talking about like things are going to be coming off of War World and stuff. So if you can put some drop-ins to that, I was like, oh, that'd be perfect for this spot. I think everybody should talk more. Like everybody should be getting on calls and stuff and hashing things out. I think it just makes for better connections. And then also like all alone in these offices most of the time.
Yeah. Surrounded by comic books, it looks like in your case.
Yeah, and little guys. Oh wait,
yeah,
it's mirrored on the shelf. Yeah.
Oh, they look like covers for those are actual guys.
Oh yeah, those are books and figures and stuff.
Wow.
So
Nice.
they stay in this room in the house. They aren't allowed anywhere else.
You don't have to tell us. Who are you talking to right now with that? But let me say on what you were saying, I feel like DC has been very good specifically about what you're saying of really like letting everyone must be talking because it feels like the touch points between characters shifting through other books is so strong right now at DC, I feel like.
Yeah, everybody's really collaborative and like I love getting on the phone. Like they always encourage us to get on the phone with each other. Like if we're all going to start a book, like with artists and stuff. Like just recently, I talked to another artist I'm going to work with. So yeah, it's been, I say they're really great. And the Archie folks, they did the same thing. Like everybody got to talk to each other. I got to email with Maria like the entire time back and forth, and she showed sketches and stuff for like every step of the layouts and pencils, and was like super receptive to feedback. And she had really cool ideas. And I always encourage artists that like, one, if you think of a better way to do it than what I wrote on the page, then please do that because it's yours too. And two, if you have a cooler idea of something to drop in, then absolutely text me, email me, call me or whatever, and let's throw it in if it works. So Maria, who couldn't be here because of scheduling conflicts, she does a fantastic job on the book and draws really fun stuff in it.
It's amazing.
Due to all the crazy, like every page, I was like, here's a new thing and a new thing. And she went into it super excited. So I just want to call out how great she is to work with and that she did a fantastic job on the book.
Yeah. Now that you have done something for Archie, and assuming this won't be the last thing you get to do, what other characters would you like to tackle? Or what other parts of the Archie Comics world?
I didn't get to touch Jughead much in the story. He's around, but other people said they were going to use him, so I kind of like took a back seat with him. So Jughead obviously would have been fun to do something with Moose. Mm-hmm. Would have been fun to do something with Moose in this story, or even Kevin. So yeah, I'm totally down. I had a great time. I told the Archie staff, like, I had a great time working with you guys. I'll come back anytime, whether it's related to this or just like Archie proper or another crazy like different take on Archie. Like, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And before we let you go, what else would you like to plug? What else should people be checking out from you?
Well, I looked at the schedule and a lot of stuff hasn't been announced yet. So I'll just say that, so I can't say it. I will say, like, I have more stuff coming. One for definitely I can say there will be a creator-owned book announced for me. It'll be a fun sci-fi book that'll come out later. And then just more stuff I can't say. I will be at C2E2, that convention, so I'll be there tabling. So I'll have copies of Superboy, The Schlub, DC Mech, a bunch of other books for people to get, or I'll sign books. So you can just come over. We can talk about Archie or anything else for as long as you want.
Awesome. Kenny, congratulations on the book. Looking forward to whatever is next for you, and do hope you get to come back to the Archie world.
Same here. Thanks for having me, guys. I had a great time.
All right.
Thanks, great talking to you, man.
Take care.
All right, there we go. Once again, that was Kenny Porter. The book is Archie Is Mr. Justice, number 3. And it is in comic book shops everywhere tomorrow.
Everywhere.
And and I was going to say you are everywhere except Justin is gone now is what's going on.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back. Wow, so cool.
Quick change.
Quick change. It is time to change it over to my favorite section because you all make it up. It is your audience questions. And for audience questions, all you got to do is drop a question in the comments over on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, maybe Instagram as well. We'll see what happens. Always a fun surprise when something is over there. But what are you guys drinking? You guys drinking the bee's knees or land sharks or longboards or what's going on?
I'm climbing up the bee's ankles, hoping to get to the bee's knees pretty soon.
Oh, nice.
This was I just polished off a tequila and grapefruit juice for all the sour heads out there. Dude. And now it's time to celebrate with a champagne of beers.
All right, there we go. Now you're keeping it classy. Yeah, I'm just on my longboard, man. Just surfing, bro.
Surf's up, man. Pete, have you surfed? Are you a surfer?
I have surfed, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
No follow-up.
Yep.
You know this. The movie Lilo and Stitch was based on Pete's life. It's his life story. He was Lilo.
Good.
Surprising.
Yeah.
It was Stitch, the
twist.
angry alien, but he was not.
No, that is weird.
Yeah. We got a couple of questions here. This is one from Nat Townsend, who's currently avoiding being at a party by hiding out of the bathroom and watching our show. Whose party? I guess if you're listening, you could figure it out. It's 7:37 on Tuesday, March 18th. Go get them.
I like the idea that you think other people at the party are watching this live, and they're just finding Alex.
Oh, dude, you're checking out that new comic book club live at our party. They probably have it on all the TVs in the...
All the TVs?
All the TVs.
Okay.
The TVs,
Turn off the game. Put on Comic Book Club Live. They have Kenny Porter. Nat says, how come no one has hand towels in their bathroom anymore? Great question, Nat.
Great question.
COVID.
Is that really a thing? You would need hand towels. You know what I
I mean, if you're
Tiny
saying there's an
towels?
air dryer, it is COVID is the actual answer.
No, I feel like he's at a party at someone's house. That's why
It's a house
And I think
party.
the question is, if you have, you can just use their regular bathroom towel to clean your hands.
Oh,
Not
anything that comes close to a towel, you can use that in a party.
And this
I
is another
think
tip,
so.
if they don't have a towel, usually in most bathrooms, there's this really nice like basin of water. Like it's kind of low down, but you can stick your fingers in it and sort of like clean off your hands a little bit. So just reach out in there.
Alex, that's not for that. That's for feet.
No?
That's a foot bath for when you're at a party.
Okay.
Or just when you get out of the bathroom, find the fluffiest person, give them a big hug, and be like, "Oh, it's so good to see you again." And
The
then
fluffiest
casually
person, you say.
Just kind of do one of these, you know what I mean?
Difficult. That's truly some aberrant behavior right there. Harder to do in the summer, but yes.
Yeah.
Frederica Rosa says, what will Pete do if Bullseye shows up again just to kill the Punisher? Great question. This is on Daredevil Born Again, presumably, not real life.
I mean, I think
I'll have
this question could
another
apply
heart attack,
anywhere.
I guess.
Oh, Pete, I mean, don't you think that's pretty possible?
Why? Why would we?
Isn't it? You think Bullseye's not going to come back at all?
I hope not.
He feels important from a revenge point of view.
I'm going to come back. We'll see if this happens. I'm going to come back to an earlier question in a second. But first, Easy Reader says, do you think DC will do an absolute Legion of Superheroes book? Good question. I'd put that at like probably not, actually. And the reason probably not is because this is spoilers for the DC All-In special that came out a couple of months ago. It ended with the Legion of Superheroes controlled by Darkseid doing something like approaching Booster Gold. So that feels so part of the story, and the Absolute books so specifically feel like their own thing, their own islands. I don't know. I feel like it would be a tonal mismatch. That's all.
But I've been to a Darkseid party, and he puts out hand towels. So you tell me.
Oh, those are
what's up.
anti-hand towels.
Oh,
Don't touch those. They get your hands wetter.
He uses the anti-towel equation.
Yeah. I agree with you, Alex. I feel like they are, first off, too many characters to sort of do the nuance. I'd be curious if they're going to do any team books in the Absolute universe, because that feels like it's very particularly about taking one thing and sort of blowing it out.
making it absolute. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. Like
Just
Absolute
like
Papar. I know what you're saying, Pete.
All right. Continuing on the we know what Pete is saying, Bent, let's go over to Scheuchler's question. What's the craziest thing you've done to get away to read comics? And I want to take Pete's secret quiz.
Ooh, oh boy! All right. Well, let's answer the first part first.
Craziest thing?
Craziest thing.
To read comics.
I've definitely left places by just saying I'm going to go read comics, or I got to go read comics. Any of those combinations.
Did you say what you're doing? You're just...
I have no problem. Like, it's Wednesday. I gotta go get comics, or I'm gonna go read comics, and I just kind of peace out.
I've definitely missed multiple subway stops.
Reading
kind
kind of. Oh yeah.
I'll take a ride the rails.
I don't know if this counts. I've definitely mentioned this on the show before, but there was a period where I pretended I wasn't reading comics, but what I would do is get to the Port Authority in New York City before I was going back to college, really like hours early, and be like, well, I guess I got to hang out in this Hudson News, and what's there to do there? I guess read these comic books. I don't read comic books, but it's just killing some time.
And you would stand there like a scumbag?
Like a
Wait.
total scumbag.
You
Wow,
said
you're a
don't
spinner
read
rack?
comics?
Yeah, for a couple of years towards the end of high school and right at the beginning of college, I wasn't
You
reading
you turned your nose up at it? You got all Cornell
Yeah,
and snooty?
I wasn't reading comics anymore, except for at the Hudson News and the Port Authority, and at the Virgin Mega Store in Times Square, where I would also
this
spend
man.
hours reading graphic
Oh,
novels.
I was there.
Just like
I was
an
there
addict.
reading comics. I was there a lot reading comics.
All right, do we want to do the secret quiz thing?
Sure, yes. I would need a password.
He already did it.
He said it.
Just
It's
go to
okay.
the quiz, Pete.
Hey, who's running this quiz?
Certainly not you.
Can't we just ask the question about the number of random skulls? Can't you just say a random number and we move on?
Yeah, he says Bruce and Gordon over here, and now
okay,
you
great,
need to
thank
know
you.
how many skulls are on the other side of your computer.
How many skulls can I currently see?
Not trivia. That's not how trivia works.
This is like an emperor demanding something from his court jester.
Yeah.
Hey, man, the Schweikler is...
This is like all of your quizzes are like how Frodo tries to trick Gollum. Anyway.
Nice. Got it. Got him, Gollum. 13, Pete.
You're getting closer. You're getting closer.
I hate this. All right.
Frederico Rosa says, is the number of skulls a meaningful number or just a random number? Also, is the number always the same? These are great questions.
The number is always the same, and yes, it is both those things.
It is meaningful and random?
Is it meaningful because you care about the skulls, or does the number of skulls mean something?
No, it's just kind of a random number that kind of like the number that I had when I counted up all the skulls in this room. But the number itself is kind of a...
Oh, it was meaningful because you love that number?
I do love that number, yes.
Oh, my. Wow. I love everyone's trying so hard to put some structure around this. And Pete's like, yes, of course there's structure. Random structure.
It's a random, yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. So, great, yes.
Moving on.
Let's
Stray
move on,
Bullet
yes.
says, are there any DC characters you'd like to see get the absolute treatment?
Well, just to set the bar, tomorrow we have Absolute Flash coming, right? Then we have Absolute Martian Manhunter. And what else do we have announced?
Absolute Green Lantern is the only one. But we do know that there's at least 2 more books that are coming, I believe. There were other names that were announced initially as being part of the line. We don't know what their books are yet. One of them is Pornsak Pishashot, and I don't remember who the other writer is. But so there's at least 2 more things coming down the line at some point.
It's cool. I mean, what do we think? Absolute Zatanna?
That was exactly my first thought. That or John Constantine, because we haven't gotten like a magic user yet. We're getting a lot of suggestions here. Absolute Plastic Man, Absolute Ambush Bug. I don't know. It feels like it needs to be somebody they can say something about, because all of them very specifically have something to say about the world outside or interiorly, whatever that word is, about the character. Internally, thank you, about the character. That it isn't... I don't think they're going to go for like, we're getting Absolute Misoplizic. I don't think we're going to get any like comedy books or anything like that. I think it's more, how can we emotionally explore the character or the comic book form? But
Let me say, this one feels like simultaneously unlikely, but also would be really good. Absolute Nightwing. It's a little close to Batman, but to have I'd be curious how they would sort of turn down the positivity or the brightness of Nightwing in an absolute
I
world.
believe we are getting Nightwing and Absolute Batman, but I think, maybe I'm making this up. I feel like maybe they are talking about spin-offs from Absolute Batman. So sort of like expanding that pocket of the universe. So maybe we'll get that. We'll see.
Derek Mainhart with a good one, Absolute Harley Quinn. Joe Mulvey, Absolute Lobo. Yeah.
I love a absolute Damien. That would be fun.
Damien, just Damien from the Omen.
Nope.
Or a friend of yours named Damien.
I just,
Damien,
I would love
Absolute
to see,
Damien.
my friend
Damien
Damien,
Wayans.
I would love to see the best version of him.
Yeah, I would love to
see
Damien to
like a really-
plus up a little bit. Really get swole.
Great. Well, I know that trivia from Pete was really weird and disturbing for everybody. So why don't we move it on to our next section, which is trivia with
boy.
Pete LePage.
Yeah, this is the one that makes sense.
Yeah, this is the one that, we just need, this is the part we give back to you, the lovely audience. It's an opportunity with $25 free to Midtown Comics Online. Because if you wanted to go to a comic book shop, you would need $25. So,
You would need $25.
yeah, just raise your hand, volunteer, and you will win $25 free that will promptly get to you in 3 to 4 months.
Whoa, what does that
Hey,
mean?
whoa, hey!
Attacking the infrastructure.
Just seeing if you're paying attention. Just seeing when you check in and check out. That's all.
David Quinley says me.
All right, Quinley's in it. Today's trivia. is
Quinley will Winley, as we say.
Oh, that's definitely what we say. Today's trivia is about the comic Welcome to the Maynard and a small nod to the legend Lynn Mary Stewart, R.I.P. Charlie's mom from Always Sunny. All right, please listen to all three options before making your selection. Here we go. Question number 1. In Welcome to Maynard, the staff and the guests have what in their veins? Is it A, magic, B, shut up dude, not cool, or C, Peter Looney?
Pete, does your IMDb ever say enough? Stop.
Yeah, they're always like, you have to pay or sign in.
Wow, you're like,
And
you're
you're
here.
subscribed
Are you a
to-
high-powered agent? They think.
You're subscribed to IMDb Amateur, right? Is that correct?
That's right. A is correct, yes. I wasn't
A
agreeing with you,
is-
Alex. I was agreeing with what was happening. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
That was
Hard to say.
confusing.
It felt like
Yeah.
agreement with Alex to me.
Question number 2. What is the name of the main character who has a mysterious background? Is it A, Pip, B, whatever emo creep, I'm pretty positive I'm never going to regret always picking on you, C, Tim Burton?
Wow, very
Wow.
targeted
Interesting
towards Tim
take.
Burton.
Yeah.
Do you not like Tim Burton, Pete?
No, I just think that he had to be motivated and,
Yeah, you were happy that he was bullied.
yeah.
Pete, would you say the answer to this question doesn't slip?
I would. R.I.P. to the OG Pip.
R.I.P.
David
Pepe.
says A, but I want B.
It is A. Here we go. Last one. Here we go. What is the name of the incredible writer on this comic? Hint, JT Sizz fave. Is it A, James Robinson?
Hint.
B, yeah, but what did he draw? This is driving me crazy. C, Bob Drew.
Sometimes you get me, Pete. Sometimes you get me.
Guess we'll see. We'll see if he answers.
Yes,
You got an
A.
A.
It's A.
Yeah.
There we go. Congratulations, David. You are getting a $25 gift card to Midtown Comics. Shoot us an email and we'll get that off to you. Pete, is the secret movie you were referring to, Frederico had a guess, Pee-wee's Big Adventure?
Yes, he is correct. The 1985 classic, Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
All right. Very cool. Also, it looks like I
Nice
missed
job,
a
Frederico.
comment here. Somebody helpfully starred it. So I wanted to bring it up. This is from Stray Bullet. If I send Pete another Punisher item, will the answer to this quiz change?
And I already responded in the comments, yes, it would.
Okay.
Complicated.
Yeah.
Great.
Making
Well-
a complicated situation somewhat worse, I would argue.
Oh, okay. Well,
For sure. Now, as we all know, new comic books coming out tomorrow. Pete's quiz is literally the
Come on,
highlight
Maynard.
of my... Now, you can't read sarcasm on the internet, I think.
Yes,
New
definitely.
comics coming out tomorrow. What are you guys looking forward to? Lots of books.
oh man, it's almost too many. Some would
Almost
say.
too many.
Yeah.
Honestly, last week I was like, wow, not a lot of comics. That's kind of
Light
light
stack.
week.
Light
They
stack.
saved it all for this week.
Yeah, I
so
guess
many
they
comics
did.
coming out.
It's
So what are you
ridiculous.
looking forward to? Help drive people to what they should be picking up, Pete.
All right, well, I'm talking about Absolute Batman #6. This has been so badass. I've been having such a fun with this Absolute book here, and I'm excited to see what happens next. Also, New Gods #4, very excited about that. This has just been so much fun, and Bart has been just such a badass. And, of course, Mouse Guard, Dawn of the Black Axe #1. So excited to have this book back in the shelves, and I love
shouts to Gabriel Rodriguez on
dude.
art.
Come on, it's a dream team. It's a team up here. So excited about this. I love this world. I'm so excited to be back.
I'm gonna go with a Christopher Canwell rock block here for my picks. Challengers of the Unknown #4 from DC Comics. Man, I've really been loving the mystery here, the way that this comic really highlights these characters on the Challengers, as well as incorporating a lot of the superheroes in the JLU, is really well done. Love this series. And then over from Oni, Out of Alcatraz #1, following.
This is that kind of stuff.
Built on an actual story of people that escaped from Alcatraz were never found, and this, I believe, is his take on maybe what happened to them, which is exciting.
Yeah, like we said, there are almost too many books to shout out, but a couple that you guys haven't mentioned. The Deviant #9 from Image Comics is the final issue of the Disturbing Christmas story from Jamestown IV and Joshua Hickson. It is obviously not Christmas anymore, but very excited to check that out. Also, Lawful #8 from Boom Studios, another final issue. This is from Greg Pak and Diego Galindo. Great book about folks who turn into monsters when they do something wrong, or maybe that's not actually what's going on. It all ends here. And the last one I'll give a shout out to is L.A. Strong from Mad Cave Studios. Yes. It's a big anthology with all stars doing art and writing, and the proceeds go to help folks who are particularly booksellers and comic book sellers and comic book creators who are still suffering from the LA fires. So definitely be sure to pick that up because the proceeds go directly to them, which is very cool. And
now over to our next section, Better Off Ted, where we talk about the Ted Lasso news. Stray Bullet, did you guys talk about the Ted Lasso news, a.k.a. did you tell Pete about this major Hollywood story that he maybe didn't see?
Oh, I saw it, dude. I watch the Kelsey Brothers podcast on a regular basis, dude. I get my news from the fucking tap, dude. Don't even worry about me.
I'm so glad I brought this up.
Dude. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I'm pumped, man. Yeah. Season 4, let's go. Let's go.
And so would you say that the Kelsey Brothers, that's your main source of news and sort of your journalist, they're your #1 journalists?
Yeah. This, that, and Last Week Tonight. That's my two news
in a
sources.
Very similar way. My wife and I that morning had a conversation about where we both knew the names of both Kelsey brothers, as well as the fact previously that they had a podcast. So we're on exactly the same level there.
Nice. You definitely knew both of them.
Yes.
Great. And which you could probably say them right now. Not that
I choose not to. I choose not to.
But you could, if pressed, you could name both of the
100%.
podcast Kelsey Brothers. Great.
Yes, and the name of their podcast, which again I knew they had, and I continue to know they had.
Yes.
All of those books that we mentioned are going to be on the Stack podcast Wednesday 9 a.m.
What are the odds?
In the Stack feed and the Comic Book Club feed. So check that out. And folks, that is it for this week's show. A couple of people we want to thank. We want to thank Kenny Porter for coming on to talk about Archie Is Mr. Justice #3. Also, Bill Roundy for the Bee's Knees cocktail. You can check that out at Bix at the end of April, where you can also check us out and nobody else, as we've already established.
I heard the Kelseys are going to have a table there, and Alex is going to be great when you meet them.
Yeah, when I meet both. Well, I'll tell you who they are later.
Yeah, why don't you introduce us since you know their names?
For sure, and that they have a podcast. Next week on the show, Matthew Rosenberg is going to be here. Bergie, who loves being called that. He's going to be talking about We're Taking Everyone Down With Us, his new comic book. Comic Book Club News, our daily news podcast. Check that out. Podvincible, our Invincible podcast. We just finished up talking about Season 3. Marvel Vision, our Marvel podcast, talking about Daredevil, including tonight's episode at some point.
Man.
I know.
What are we doing?
Who's going to die this time? Patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Support the show and all the shows we do. ComicBookClubLive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the Comic Book Club.
Shouts to John Amore in the comments from a long time ago, and we are the original Kelsey Brothers.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Take care of yourself.
Good night, folks.